Around this timestamp is when I want you to think about the following sigils. It's something I've talked about a lot. What does a stop sign look like? I'm not kidding, by the way. Chase, Manhattan, symbol. Stay with me and keep in mind you're looking at a swastika, you're looking at the four winds, you're looking at something that reflects reality that has been since corrupted. When you look up in the night sky, this is what you fucking see, but people don't understand that. Crass, punk band, symbol. These are all angles of the same fucking thing. Keep in mind, this one speaks to the ether more than what you just saw. My electronics are notoriously wonky, and I got cut off for whatever reason. Here's another example. The Union Jack. And this is a big deal, would you agree? Yeah? And you're looking at the same fucking thing. What's another example? Well, here, I should throw this out there too, because, it's hidden in the phone. Do you see the third sigil from the left? Yeah? Do you see what I'm talking about? It's another version of the ether again, related to what we are talking about. I'm referring to this. Bluetooth. Doesn't come up. It would come up if people had the slightest fucking clue what is going on. Keep in mind, you'll have some people who are vaguely familiar with the sigil without all these extra legs and things being broken off, but then they're going to dress it up as granola garbage. They're going to talk about Golden Dawn unicursal hexagram. They're going to do shit like that, or they're going to say Star of David. You'll get that sometimes. Star of Rimfram. It's not going to do it, but some of you know what I'm talking about, and it's the REMPHAN. Sometimes you'll get that. Don't confuse those two, because people don't have the first fucking clue what's going on. What's another one? Platonic solid, icosahedron. Didn't work, but some of you might know what I'm talking about. It's the same thing having to do with the ether again, which you're not supposed to know about, and people don't, apparently. Pardon me, I'm also watching a squirrel that I fed some banana chips to hang out on my porch. Pretty neat. What was the other thing I was going to rattle off? So in the video, what they touch on, but nobody seems to understand, is this. Seal of Melchizedek. And you'll hear about this sometimes. It's very, very old. It's the squared square, the square in the chair, and it's got a bunch of other names. The bride's chair, things that don't typically come up anymore. You'll see this jazz. Melchizedek is known as the high priest. If you've ever heard of the Isis horse shit, supposedly Isis, inherited the mantle and took over the order as the Melchizedek, as if it were a title. It's one thing to think of. Usually when you look this jazz up, it's usually these same images that you're seeing, with the exception of this stupid fucking shit. And not a whole hell of a lot more, especially here on Google. You will see this, the 47th problem of Euclid. And it's relevant. I recorded a very long video for people, and I left a test question online having to do with one magic square, which people haven't been paying attention to what I'm saying online. I left 3 test questions. One has to do with a magic square, but people aren't keeping up with what I'm up to. And if they answered the magic square test question, I told them I would post this terribly long video where I tramp around. I consider it urban archaeology, so to speak. It's a site full of Masonic brickwork, and it's lesser magic hidden in plain sight. It speaks to how reality functions, and I was amazed when I came across it. It's also something I seeded. I put the address to this location in a book that I left to the general public, and no one has figured that out. Because keep in mind, you could travel there, you could probably walk around part of it, and if you weren't thorough, you might just miss it. The first time I did, I didn't realize there was more than one. Either way. As always, what the fuck do I know? This is what they're talking about in the video, and it's terribly important, but it doesn't usually come up. Probably should. Let's just see if this will even show us what I want. Astrology, natal charts. There are a lot of different versions of this, but I just want to see if the imagery will come up. Usually it won't, not at the top of the stack. And if you think about that squared square I just showed you, some of you might know what I'm talking about. You've seen that before in a number of ways, just like you've seen a fucking stop sign before. But you didn't have eyes to see. Someone such as myself didn't spoon feed it to you. So you didn't know what you were looking at. You didn't look into it. You didn't question it. You essentially didn't think for yourself or go beyond, the superficial veil. Or another way you could think of it is you hung out in the lowest aspect of your chakras. And that's what most people do, because that's how society is designed. By the way, Chris Brennan, this guy in the upper left, he is a wealth of knowledge. If you punch in astrology and Chris Brennan, he's a pretty decent dude. And he's also tried to keep some of the older secrets alive and well. I never pronounced the name, but he published a book, republished a book, technically. It's somebody else's work, by and large. It was translated at least 2 times, and the second time was a complete translation. It's Vettius Valens with a V. You could probably find it if you look up Vettius, I think. Valens, Valiens. And he's keeping that jazz alive, which is a big fucking deal, because most things are lost. There's one of them, but it's distorted. But when you look up natal charts, you'll see what I'm talking about, because it reflects reality. It's one of many ways you can do this. Keep that in mind. If you look up the Vedics, dots, not feathers, Indians, Eastern Indians, you will see variations to this. This is one of a few different examples. And you need to know these things if you're going to try to figure any of this out. But people aren't trying to figure things out, apparently, these days. So I'll digress on that note. As always, what the fuck do I know? Now I would like you to watch the video and consider what I said, because I just gave you something to work with. I gave you a lot to work with, and no one strings those together for you. Keep that in mind. I've been looking for people for years. Some of the stuff I've been up to, I would prefer somebody else to be teaching me. It would be neat to be able to just kick back like most of you do and act as a voyeur and take things in stride. I've seen this as a fucking service to the masses, because people don't have a fucking clue what's going on. And it's frustrating. I feel obligated. That's one way to put it. Here we go.
When we reveal there's only one mediator between man and God. But religion is teaching us to become mediators. You notice religion teach us to be pastors.
Absolutely.
But Christ tells us don't be teachers. There's only one.
Absolutely.
That's why you got all these people, but we ain't got Christ. None of these was the fulfillment, but they all gave us teachings about God. Now, prophets didn't really teach us. What did prophets do? They told about the vision of God.
Absolutely.
They didn't, like a lot of people think prophets taught. Prophets didn't teach. Prophets foretold a vision of things to happen.
Absolutely.
All these people came teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the prophets prophesied for Christ to come.
Absolutely.
But they showed up to what? Mislead us.
To teach. Yeah, absolutely.
Mislead us. So now we're in this world of darkness. Well, this order is coming back. It's like the order of Melchizedek.
Mm-hmm.
See, a lot of people don't know what that means. Mislead us. So now we're in this world of darkness. Well, this order is coming back. It's like the order of Melchizedek.
Mm-hmm.
See, a lot of people don't know what that means, but it got order on the front of it. So somebody gonna bring law and order to establish God's kingdom. Because without that, we're gonna keep having what? Teachers.
Yep, absolutely.
And
one thing,
teachers with no order. When we reveal this,
he's essentially referring to what we have today. False prophets, controlled opposition assets, celebrity puppets, people in place to mislead us. What the fuck do I know? There we go.
Christ comes to restore the royal priesthood that was destroyed in Africa, which is the Solomonic dynasty. This is what I found out. Christ comes to restore these things. Now, most...
Alright, sorry, I got oatmeal in my mouth. Remember, there is no physical fucking Jesus or Isis. Christ is the living fucking waters, Prana, Chi, Vril, Etherions, etc., etc. He's misleading people, is my point.
People know nothing about it.
Ironically.
But it's a true royal priesthood that has been destroyed and erased from the face of the earth. And this is what Christ come back to restore so we can unite African people all over the world.
And just like that, it became a fucking agenda. Do you see what I see? Did you hear what I heard? Do you have eyes to see, ears to hear, and a brain to think with? Do you, motherfucker?
Under the true royal priesthood and not under the Roman Catholic Church as we...
Okay, so there's polarizing garbage right there. All of us exist beneath what is, by all rights, Israel or Jacob or the heel catcher, or if you've seen those ridiculous kids that urge you to drink your piss, the kids shopping around the Hearth book, they'll also call it, Adam Cardamon. It's the fucking guided stars above. Most people misattribute to the fixed stars. Other duds call the zodiac, which is the circle of the little animals, or the little animals, respectively. All these other names are in place to mislead you. They are muddying the waters. People don't know what they're talking about. The reason we have what's going on right now in Canaan, Palestine, is because it's an earthly bastard version of what lies above and what represents reality and influences us. And down here on Earth, it is a corruption of that. The same with the false narrative about a bloodline or a physical, Christ. It's a joke, but most people are the punchline.
We are under right now. These are the things that Christ comes to do. So that's why. So Christ is more of a rebel and a revolutionary than a kid.
They're misleading people.
When we reveal there's only one media.
Why do you say all religions are fake?
If you can't have your camera on, y'all, we're not going to continue the conversation. Now, we say all religions are false because the scriptures say wait on the Lord. But you know what's funny, y'all? We ain't wait on the Lord. What we went did? We went join religion. We went getting books. We went studying. We went reading. We're supposed to wait on God. Remain pure and wait on God. Y'all, this thing, this coming, let's just all be like a child for a second. Just imagine if we all just wait on God instead of joining religion to divide us.
Okay, they're not going to tell you this. And again, I got oatmeal in my mouth and I apologize. And this is probably well past the TikTok quota, so you probably won't see this anyway. Because most people don't see what I leave on YouTube anyhow. Bots do. So what people confuse or what people poorly dress up as quote-unquote God. It's a verb. It's a process. It's not a noun. It's not a dude on a fucking throne or any of that other jazz. It's how it was dressed up so people could think in terms of it. But it is a process and a fucking verb. I've only found, I think, one source, one dude who understands this. And he's pretty fucking old right now. He tried the detailed pieces of this, even though I don't think he has as many answers as I do. And again, it just goes over people's heads. People revert. They want to believe the fucking adult fairy tales, and that's what they repeat, typically speaking. Either way, what the fuck do I know? Take what I said with a grain of salt. I can show you these things, but what most people don't understand is I've been looking for people who can use the brain in their head and show me that and prove that I can trust you. Because most people are corrupting the information, if that wasn't terribly fucking clear. It should be, based on if you've hung out on the internet, but most people haven't figured that out. So when I say I can show you these things, it's also not the first thing I would fucking hand you. And most people are so painfully slow. Well, dude, well, tell me that then. Why would I do that for you? When most of you are fucking me up, fucking yourself up, and fucking others up. by repeating garbage, by repeating shit you do not understand and you have never looked into. It's important to take those words to heart and to change how you operate. But most people aren't going to do that. They're not going to consider what I just said and or hear what I just said. And that should resonate, but it probably won't.
Just imagine right now, because right now we got Christians, Muslims, Hebrews. You got two kind of Muslims. You got two kind of Christians. You got two kind of Hebrews. Like, damn, like, what if we would have accepted the instructions and we...
Real fast, would you agree that you were born during a month? Yeah? What are the months associated with? What lies above again? Having to do with the swastika, the four winds, the 12 signs or 12 houses, etc., etc., etc. What is that associated with? Usually you'll hear 12 tribes or 12 tribes of, is it Levi? You and I, all the bloodlines, all the flesh underneath the fucking sun. We're all part of the same fucking thing. The most superficial thing you could do is polarize people and or assume that the pigment of your skin or the blood in your veins is better than the dude next to you or the gal next to you. It's fucking ridiculous is what it is. It's a divisive agenda most people have bought into instead of using the brain between their ears. This system is diverse. There is a template behind it, so you will bump into people who do look similar. And that's a whole nother ball of wax people haven't fucking sorted out, but back to point. We're all part of the same shit. What is the line in Fight Club? In many ways, you could look at it as lesser magic. We're all part of the same compost heap. Or pile, or however you put it. And it's true. This entire system is a death mill. It's based on entropy. And we're all part of it. We all come from the same fucking thing. You'll hear kids contradict each other. You'll hear people in this circle in particular. And remember, this isn't the only circle doing this. I'm getting ahead of myself. Too many thoughts. You'll hear kids essentially polarize you and tell you to buy into, their particular point of view, which is a dogmatic agenda. It's a dogmatic agenda and it doesn't reflect reality. But then they'll also tell you that we're all one love. We all are energy. Energy is, and they mixed eternal and infinite up, by the way. And they mix up energy and matter, or the patter and the matter up, because people don't understand these things because they've been polarized and trained to repeat garbage. These are contradictions if you're picking up what I'm putting down, but most people probably aren't because I didn't spell it out for you and I didn't make it as clean as humanly possible. But they are contradicting themselves. And most people probably won't be able to figure that out. I know I'm constantly knocking people's dicks in the dirt, but it's because you and I are surrounded by people who are below average and they are not fucking trying to do better and be better and help one another out. They're not. Not in the big ways that will change things, is what I should say. Here's an example of one of the few moments I've experienced here in Portland, Oregon in a very long while that was wholesome. Here's a quick story, because none of this other jazz is going to fit on fucking TikTok anyway. So, I was hanging out I went to a 7-Eleven yesterday, which I usually don't do because it's cancer-causing crap. Oh, that's cool too. So I was hanging out in the 7-Eleven. There was a mentally deficient man in line. There was a gal just ahead of me behind him. And he was having some trouble on the carpet. The gal was closer to him. So she took a second and she adjusted the carpet so that it was flush with the floor so that he had traction. And I thought that was pretty fucking neat. So we all kind of talked for a moment. And he asked her if she knew me. And we said we don't know each other. So she introduced herself to him. And then, again, he repeated himself. He asked if she knew me, and she said no. So then she and I introduced one another, and then I met him. And then what we did was we went around the room, and we met the attendant that works there. I'm not going to list anybody's names because I remember some of them, not all of them. But then there was probably, I think, 3 or 4 people in line behind me, and we went through everybody. We met everybody, and it was really, really, like I said, wholesome. It's pretty neat. And on the way out the door, even after the mentally deficient man had gone about his business, everyone was still cordial. They were pleasant. They had common courtesies suddenly, which they probably wouldn't have had otherwise. Just how cold and disconnected we are, how inhuman things are today. Think about my mom all the goddamn time because she's fucking amazing. And I know a lot of people think of that about their people. But when we wander around and when we go for walks, my mom will say hi to strangers all the goddamn time, just to be pleasant. And she means it, which is the wild part. And most people will just turn their nose up and or pretend that they didn't hear her. And that's the world these days. And it's by design. You and I are being manipulated, and most people haven't figured this shit out. And it comes down to how you conduct yourself to begin with. What you're willing to look into and understand, secondly. And once you get a foundation under your feet, you're going to realize that what most people are talking about, what most people want you to believe in and repeat with them, they want you to play along, play make-believe, essentially, is bullshit. So once you get a foundation under your feet, then it's up to you to challenge that shit when they're urging others to repeat lies, outright garbage that does not reflect reality in any form or way, and by all rights is an adult fairy tale, which is a rabbit hole, which is a paradigm that goes nowhere, means nothing, and is fuck all. It's really important for you to go through these steps. There are stages to it, and most people haven't begun the journey. And only after you do some of that will you be able to figure out even bigger and badder and cooler things, which is what I'm largely sitting on and what I speak to and what I'll probably never fucking teach people, because people aren't changing things for the better. They're making it worse. That should be clear, but it's obviously not very clear to people these days because most people aren't using the brain between their ears. All right, as always, what the fuck do I know? I keep telling myself I really need to stop making videos. I really do. Sometimes this gal will knock out things. Sometimes. I should just say that too. But she does have 50,000 people following her, which lends itself to what you just saw. And it's because she is also misleading people. This is how it goes sometimes. It's another person who I don't think is absolutely controlled opposition. But before I go, I should also say this. Controlled opposition is anybody who lies to you and polarizes you. Some of them get paid to do it. And the people who aren't very bright don't get paid to do it. But both of them are misleading the masses. And it doesn't take a hell of a lot to figure this out if you simply sit with it and think for yourself.